This is the Indy 11 Coaches Show podcast, brought to you by your Central Indiana Ford dealers.
Welcome back to Season 3 of the Indy 11 Coaches Show podcast. This is Indy 11 head coach Sean McCauley. I am Grant Shoulders. Today we are going to be looking back at the back half of the offseason, preseason games played and upcoming, and looking ahead to the beginning of the 2026 season. Sean, you had a trip back home since our last episode. I know coaches never really have a break from thinking about the sport and the season up and coming, but how was your off season?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, I went back to the UK, saw family, and friends caught with that. Some games across there as well, so that was good. And just having a look at how the game is over there compared to over here, and trying to make some comparisons, trying to get some secrets out of some people, and trying to bring that to the group this year.
Yeah, that was actually one of the questions I wanted to ask you is how you I've heard you talk before about how the game evolves year to year, and it may be completely different next year than it is this year. How would you put into words that difference that you think this year has?
I think teams now are more pragmatic in their approach. I think the statistical stuff where everybody's an expert has sort of died down a little bit. And I think the hindsight United, where everybody looks at the game after it's played, is going away a little bit more as well. Because there was a real strong belief that statistics and possession orientated and expected goals and things like that were probably at one point overruling everything else that was happening in the game. And that's gone out of it a bit. And you just look at the trend of what's happening with Arsenal. Arsenal now are playing a way of football that can be direct. They can go long from back to front. They can open you up and play through you if they need to, if they give them time and space. And probably the best set play team in Europe at the moment. They've made long throw-ins trendy. And it's a little bit disappointing that it takes somebody like that to do something and be successful at it. When Stoke City were doing it and were really successful at it, everybody thought it was a terrible way of playing. But now Arsenal's doing it, I think it's great. But the trends in the game will constantly evolve and change, and I just think it's really important, going back home and seeing people train and seeing people work and, trying to develop myself as well. And I don't think you can ever stop learning and understanding. I think the key thing is, for us this season, what we need to take in is we've got to find a way to win. And that'll be based around the players that we have. And, it may not be the same week in, week out because of the players that we've got, the size of the squad. We might have to adjust and modify what we do, and we'll have some key principles that we'll always have at this football club while I'm in charge, and that will be that you work hard and you put maximum effort in, and then if we can have a game plan that can affect the opponent in a negative way, we'll do it to try and win a game of football. And that's what I got out of it, basically going back home, is the game's changing a little bit back to being normal football. Score it in one end, stop it going in the other.
Less analytical, is that?
I think the analytics are still there, but I think the analytics now, people have come to realise that the analytics are shown after the game. And I think the best people in the world want predictive analytics. And unfortunately, the people that get the most time on and airtime are the ones that after the game say, well, it was 47% possession and you only had 5 shots, so you should have done better. Well, unfortunately, nobody knows before the game. Tell us how to do that better before the game.
Right. Well, you talked about it's up to the players that we have this season. Since our last episode, we've made 7 signings, 4 defenders, 2 midfielders, and 1 attacker. So I'll just go up with each unit, and you tell me about how those additions affect their position units altogether. So for defenders, we have Alejandro Matrano, Tony Herbert, Hezron Berry, and Paco Craig. So just talk to me about what those guys bring to the squad.
Well, we've gone for a wide range there. We've got a lot of experience with Paco and Tony. Have had good experience in the league. And then Mitronos played a lot for such a young player, you know, with both, when he played a lot last year with Miami over the last couple of years. Really good young player, you know, high hopes, and he's maybe been lost a little bit over the last couple of years, so we hope to bring him back on track. And Hezron's a good young footballer. In terms of experience, he's 26-year-old, so we've got that on our side a little bit, that he's not going in as a 20-year-old, you know, it can be a bit different. But yeah, he's got good prospects ahead of him. So yeah, I'm pleased with all of them signings.
Gotcha. And then midfielders, Noble and Allen. Talk to me about that.
Great. You know, Alan came in, you know, and we'd been in discussions with Alan. He was really keen to come. So that's the first thing. His personality and character is first class. We know we've got a good player that can change a game, you know, and he's got good quality in around the attacking third. We need to obviously get him working a little bit more defensively when we need to. But his attacking ability and his quality on the ball is very good. And Noble Okello is again a player that, you know, we've been monitoring over a couple of years. And obviously I remember him from when he first came into the MLS with Toronto, and another one that's maybe thought he would bounce back into the MLS early when he went to Atlanta's second team, Atlanta United. That didn't happen, so he had a year at Phoenix, and he came available, and we were really pleased to get him into our squad.
Nice. And then the one attacker, obviously we already talked about Dylan Charlie last episode, but Kian Williams has been announced since. Just talk to me about it.
Yeah, Kian, we were in discussions with Kian midway through last year. Good player. Sort of attacking, can create for himself. That's the one thing that, you know, we maybe didn't have with the others. You know, when we got Dylan and Charlie, we knew that they were probably more target centre forwards who you know, can play together because they've done so in college. So Kian comes in with a lot of ability, and again, one that can create moments out of nothing, can create for himself, and he's, you know, he's a really exciting attacking player. Another one that obviously needs to understand the defensive responsibilities when we're playing the USL, because, you know, he's coming from the Canadian League, which, you know, while it is a good standard of football, it's different to the way the USL's played. And if he gets hold of, you know, understanding what the opponent does and gets into our team with the mindset of doing the work that's needed to win the game, then he'll be good for us.
You just talked a little bit there about Dylan and Charlie kind of being the centermen that you're more targeting. When we talked about them and signing them in our last episode, you mentioned that they had each had their individual processes, and you weren't to say that they would necessarily be the partnership. But since then, it's felt like they've played a lot together in training, preseason. Is their chemistry something that you've been able to see on the field?
I think we did that in order to make it as most comfortable as possible for them to integrate with the rest of the players. In the other preseason games that are coming up, they won't play together because we're looking at something different. And we've got to recognise the fact that preseason games are for that. And for us this year, especially, you know, for us this year, balancing, we need to try a lot of different things, because we're going to find ourselves in May, June, July. If we have a couple of injuries, we've only got a really small squad. So we need to understand that everybody needs the opportunity to play. And we also need them to play with different people. So I just don't feel it's right to put a first team and a second team out in the first 2 or 3 games in pre-season, because when we get later on in the season, we'll have injuries and maybe a loss of form, and other lads need to take the place.
Yeah, that was going to lead me, or you just led me straight into the question I had about preseason. Within what you're willing to share, kind of you and the rest of the coaching staff, when mixing up these units for preseason games, I guess what is the main thing you're looking for, even though you kind of just explained?
Yeah, first thing is fitness, obviously, and it's game understanding and understanding how we work. We follow the same process as what we do. We'll give them a scout report on a Thursday and a Friday. We'll follow through that with training tactically on the field on the Thursday and Friday. On the Monday and Wednesday of pre-season is around building the fitness. You know, through the season it'll be about reflection of performance, and making sure, maintaining the work that we do in the first few days of the week. But in general, in pre-season, the first 2 games, we like to give every player 45 minutes. and we were going to continue that in the next couple of games, but play different units together, and we'll get the fitness through the training in midweek. The problem we've got is we've had a little bit of a virus going around the club. We don't have any academy players this weekend because they're away in a tournament. So I think we've got 16 outfield players available tomorrow. So some of them are going to have to play 90 minutes, and that's just the nature of the beast. We don't have the numbers to call on.
Gotcha. On the coaches side of things, seems like ages ago now to us, but we added assistant coach Jason Perry this offseason. We did a Journey to 11 video that's up on our channel to get to know him a little bit, which go check that out. But talk to me about adding Coach JP to the staff and what you've seen from him so far.
Yeah, he's great, JP. You know, we lost Gabe. Obviously, Gabe went to take another opportunity. And JP's come in and he's fantastic. He's got a really good understanding of the game. And JP has been through the process of being drafted as a young player, then playing in this level of competition. So maybe not fulfilling the dream of playing at the highest level, but understanding what it takes to play at the next level and maintain a career. And his way of communicating with the players is first class. You know, he's not somebody that screams and shouts and puts fear in. You know, he's a really good communicator, and I'm really pleased that we've been able to get him. I'm even more pleased that he's been able to come in the first couple of weeks and hit the ground running. He's been fantastic, and he's somebody that I listen to a lot. You know, and you know, he's somebody that provides all of us with his knowledge and experience, which obviously we share with the players.
Gotcha. You've spoken many times about wanting to get younger as a squad going into this season. After a little over three-ish weeks now with the team, are there any qualities or anything that stands out with these guys in comparison to your previous two seasons here?
You know, they're good. I think the stuff off the field is probably a little bit easier for the younger players, you know, because they're coming in, you know, either single or, you know, girlfriends, and, you know, it's not as if they're bringing a family of 2-3 kids with them, you know, and so there's probably less stress on that part of it. They all get on with each other. We're fortunate that our experienced players are really good, you know, and I'm talking about Reece, you know, integrates people really well you can mix the locker room really well. Reece Charles Cook, you know, Hayden White and Quinny and Jack and Cam, they're good people to have around, and they help with integrating the younger players and probably can steer them down the correct path of playing for us. Young players generally, if they're not playing in the first game of the season, think the career's over, and that's not the case, and they need to stay on track. And like I said, we have set standards here when you play for Indy 11, and the standards, the majority of them, will be off the field as well as on the field, in terms of how they engage with the public, the supporters, the people, the community engagement, and them standards will never ever be dropped. So they need to understand that.
Yeah, that's something that struck me even from week one, just being the video guy at the club, how open and ready to be on camera and wanting to be involved the young guys were. So that was honestly very refreshing to see for the whole club.
Let me know if they ever do cause any problems.
It's a season opener this year, starting at Brooklyn. Talk to me about starting the season off and preparing against a team who's in their first season.
Tough, because obviously it's very difficult to get an understanding of what they've done previously. We'll have some information on them for sure. We'll get as much information. We'll know a lot of the players that have signed for them, but we've never seen them play together or gel together. So that's the difficult part of it. But no, we're looking forward to going there. It's a new stadium, new ground for us, new environment. But we've got to go there and pick up a result, because, you know, when you look at the strength of our league in our conference now, there are multiple teams who have made the playoffs multiple years running. There is no evidence to suggest that them teams are not going to make the playoffs this year. You look at the heavily invested Tampa Bay Rowdies and you think to themselves, well, they missed out, so they're probably going to try their best to get back in. We missed out, we need to try our best to get back in. So when you look at the available spots that are there, we can't have teams like Brooklyn and Jacksonville coming in and going, well, we'll take one as well, because we're all fighting for what we would consider probably a few places, because evidence suggests that the teams that are at the top have been at the top for the last 4 or 5 years.
Right. Starting off a bit different cup-wise this year. The Open Cup, we have a match here on March 17th indoors, which is new for a cup match. On turf is what that means, against Des Moines. They changed the scheduling. It starts a month earlier than normal. The Cup does. I'm sure because of the World Cup. I don't have a guarantee on that, but you've always spoken about cup matches being of super high importance to you. Talk to me about the mindset going into this game that is technically amateur versus pro match.
Why don't you pull up their team on the screen?
That's why I said technically, because they're not amateurs, but just the league they play in.
There is a reason why it's being classed as a live national TV game, because they are wanting an upset. And there is a potential of an upset, and we have got to do everything we can to be in the next round of that cup. I hope the supporters enjoy the indoor event arena. I hope the field gets marked where the white lines can be prominent, so it looks like a proper field. And I think it will be, because everything down at our facility is first class. But I want to show a good representation of everything that we've got, because if they're turning up, not the opponent, if the TV are turning up to want an upset, we've got to make sure that we don't give it them, and we've got to show our professionalism, and everything we do is at a real high standard. Because if we don't, we'll get beat.
Gotcha. Yeah,
if you've got players that they've got and they're going to call upon, they are experienced players, international footballers that are very, very good. And what you've got to remember is 3 or 4 years ago, I was working with 3 or 4 of them. Ozzy Alonso is one of the best midfield players in the country, in the league's ever seen. And he was still good 3 or 4 years ago. Sacha Kljestan's played in the Champions League. And when you see Sacha now on TV, because he does the MLS wraparound show, he looks like he could play now in the MLS and in the international. He's such a talented footballer. And then quite a few of the other ones I've worked with at different clubs as well. So I know what challenge we've got ahead of us, and I hope everybody else does, because if we win, it's going to be fantastic to show everybody that we're here and we do take the cup seriously.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was why I put the asterisk next to amateur, because Des Moines always likes to bring in the U.S. men's national team players that come in. And
I'm not able to look. I did look at their team last, and like I said, I think I've worked with about five or six, 7 of them. Mm. So I know how good they are. What we've got to do is make sure that we're good. And I will say this: we have to do this every game we play this season. If we drop it 10%, we're going to struggle. We have to be absolutely at it every single week. Whereas I would say that a few other teams in this division can maybe, if it's not their day at the races, they'll just change a few things, bring somebody else in, and we're not going to do that. We're going to absolutely give it our everything for every game, because that's what we are and that's who we are. None more so than against, which you would say, the household names that they've got and the superstars that they've got playing for them. We just need to make sure that we take care of business.
Gotcha. And then, even though your focus is likely on Brooklyn, as far as the regular season goes, talk to me about just initial thoughts starting the home campaign against Detroit.
Yeah, that'll be really tough as well. We obviously know what they've done in the off season as well. They were able to take Aiden from us, and good luck to Aiden. I hope he recovers well from his injury. They've made a couple of good signings as well. But I think it's going to be a tough game, and another one that we're going to be competing with when the season gets older. But yeah, it'll be good to get back to Carroll. I'm really pleased for the supporters that we can get back there, and I'm pleased that we did the cup game at Grand Park, because I want the league opener for us at home to be where the supporters are most comfortable, and that's in the stadium. And we'll have a tough match. It's going to be a tough game for us, and we'll just have to hope that we can get that one over the line as well.
Gotcha. Anything else you want to add?
Not from our point of view. still going through pre-season now, but the more and more we get through the pre-season, the more and more it's going to start to look like what the team will be come that first game. And again, I go back to it. The season's going to be tough for us, and we know that. But the players are ready for it. We've just got to make sure that we give these younger players the support and confidence that they need to try and go and get results for us.
Gotcha. All right, that'll do it for Season 3, Episode 1 of the Indy 11 Coaches Show podcast. As always, visit shop.indy11.com, get your merch, and we'll see you guys next month.